But all my muscle cars I own, all the old ones. I own like the old Corvette and the Barracuda and the
Did you get the
Camaro.
Barracuda back?
Yes, I did.
Did you sell it to Russell Peters?
No,
Wait.
not Russell. No. I
Who-
sold it to a friend of mine who runs he has a large auto exchange. And then Reggie, goddamn his last name. The guy he dated Kim Kardashian. He's a badass football player. God damn it, I can't remember his last name. Beast, just super athlete. He had it. He was driving around. I'm like, that's pretty dope that he's got my old car. And he was there was a photo of him driving, but then he sold it. And then I found he sold it back to the place where I sold it to. And I found out it was there. They contacted me. I'm like, I'll take it. I bought it back up. And then I sent it to Roadster Shop, and they have it now, and they're completely overhauling it. Because the problem with that car is it drove like shit. It looked amazing, but it drove terrible.
So fucking cool. It looks so cool. How did you get
Coolest
it?
car ever. I had it made. There was a show called Rides. My friend Bud, he was
hopefully with a Z.
No, his name?
Missed opportunity. No, Rides.
Oh, Rides with a Z. No, I think it was just an S. Yeah, like comedy clubs with a K. Comedy Corner. It's kooky. Get it? We're kooky. So they built it for me on the show, and it was interesting because I asked them to build me a car that I could drive around. And once they started building it, the car got a shitload of attention because it was my car. Go ahead.
They built it from scratch, or they got the body of an old Barracuda and built it? Like, I don't understand.
They got an old Barracuda. So I bought an old Barracuda. They found one, I bought it, and then they took it apart and then rebuilt it from scratch. And they rebuilt it with a much better interior, a much better everything. But it was still old school in that it had a really shitty suspension. It just didn't handle well at all. And it broke down a bunch of times. They built it to look badass, and they achieved that. It looked amazing, but it wasn't what I wanted. What I wanted was something I could drive all the time. Like they had a 68 Mustang. Yeah, an everyday car. They had a 1968 Mustang. That's my dream. And that's why I had them built 68 Mustang or an everyday car.
No, that's my dream to have 68? A dream car. Is that with a what's it called? The convertible with the black top, the red side. The 68 Mustang is the one.
Oh, it's a great car. It's an amazing car. But the one that they built was a car to drive. But once they started realizing that my car was going to get a shitload of attention because it was on the cover of Hot Rod magazine and it was on this television show, they built it as a show car. So they built it really low to the ground and big ass wheels in the back, and they tubbed it, which means like the wheels disappeared inside the back of the car because the back of the car had been like carved out to fit these big wheels. But it drove like shit. I love the way it looked, but it drove like shit. But once I sold, like when I sold it, I didn't have nearly as much money as I have now. So I was like, to redo it would have been, it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm like, I'm not doing that. But then recently it came up for sale again. And I'm like, I'm buying it. So I bought it, and then I sent it to this place, Roadster Shop. And what Roadster Shop does is they take old cars like that and they make them handle like a new Corvette. They make them handle amazing. They have they build their own frames. Well, they make their own structure, like the chassis and the frame. They do that themselves. So they design them specifically for each individual car. Like they have one for like 1969 Camaros. They have one for a 1970 Barracuda. And then once it's balanced and everything, then they put a different suspension, different wheels. They change the transmission to a manual transmission, which it bothered me that it was an automatic. I like manual transmissions.
Doesn't seem like that kind of car would ever have an automatic transmission.
I know, it's kind of gross. So they switched it to a manual transmission, and then they're in the middle.
They put a manual into an automatic.
Yeah. They tore it apart.
Expensive.
Yeah, it's taken like a year too. It's like a long process. Like I think I sent it to them probably around this time last year, like around November last year, and they're still working on it. They still have it.
Wow. And then you're going to be able to drive that around and actually like do a 360 turn, whatever.
Yeah, that will drive like a more modern car. There's some limitations just based on the size of the car. Like those old cars are really big, but it'll handle far better than the original car that I delivered to them.
Damn. Have you ever seen Phantasm, the horror movies?
Yeah.
That guy's always that weirdo guy is always with a ponytail with the bald. He's driving a Barracuda in every one of those. That Barracuda.
Oh yeah, was it a Barracuda or a Challenger? I
think it was a Barracuda.
It's a classic car.
Yeah, DeRosa showed it to me. And I was like, oh, that's Rogan's car right there. That's Rogan's car. And then every new one, it's like, it just picks up and like now he owns it. It's just like, oh, it's such a cool fucking series of horror movies.
Well,
like,
that's one of the things that I love the most about John Wick's movies. The John Wick movies, except the John Wick Part 3, he always had muscle cars. John Wick had a 1969 Mustang, and then they stole it and killed his dog. And then he got a 1970 Chevelle, and he went out and killed everybody who stole his car and killed his dog.
What a great movie that was.
That's
like,
the best movie ever.
Not really. They just, but great fucking killing scenes.
Damn, that was a good video. Hey, do me a favor. If you like that, leave a comment, hit subscribe. If you want to join my Patreon, absolutely. Patreon.com/AriShafir. But the important thing here is you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That'll help me out. Make me bring you more free, amazing content. I'm Ari Shafir, and I'm the greatest living entertainer in the world.